He's been to camp. He's saved Christmas. He's even been to jail. Of course, I'm talking about Ernest. Ernest P. Worrell. Well, get ready, folks, because Ernest rides again. Okay, Ernest rides again. It's the fifth movie in the Ernest franchise. The last one to be released in the theater. After that, all Ernest movies pretty much went right to home video. Basically, he's just kind of a dumbass. He's always getting into trouble. He's got a very vivid imagination. He's, says a lot of funny things and falls down a lot and gets hit in the face. And I mean, you know who Ernest is, right? Ernest, of course, is portrayed by Jim Varney, who tragically passed away in the year 2000, right after they finished production on Toy Story 2. If you remember, Jim Varney was the voice of the Slinky Dog in the Toy Story franchise. Ernest Rides Again is surprisingly the first Ernest movie that I've ever watched all the way through. It's not that I don't like Ernest or anything like that, but I just never got around to watching an entire Ernest movie. And they're actually surprisingly really hard to find on VHS. Like, I was actually looking for Ernest movies, and this was the one that I found. I much would have preferred, I think, Ernest Goes to Camp or Ernest Goes to Jail. I don't know, I got Ernest Rides Again. It's not terrible, I'll tell you that up front. Even though I'm not a big Ernest fan, I still got some genuine laughs out of this. He's constantly falling down, and he's constantly doing funny voices, and he's constantly, getting into trouble that he, really has no clue as to what's going on, because he's got this vivid imagination, and he imagines that everything is more exciting and more adventurous than what it actually is. So at the beginning of this, Ernest is he's a janitor at a university, and at this university there's a professor that has this theory that there is this cannon that was used in the Revolutionary War that, for whatever reason, has the crown jewels of England stashed inside it. And the ones in London, I guess, are fakes, is the premise of this movie. And so, but nobody believes this professor, except Ernest, of course, because Ernest is into adventure and excitement, and he wants to find this cannon and help the professor prove his theory. And so they eventually do, and they find the crown jewels, and British spies are after them because they want to recover the jewels. One of the other professors at the university wants to obtain the crown jewels, so, he's pretty shady, so they're after Ernest and the professor. There you go. You don't even need to see it now. I don't know, if you like Ernest, you're probably going to like this. Like I said, this is the first one I've ever seen all the way through, so I did not like it. A very clean kind of comedy as well. I mean, this is something that you could show to little kids, you could show to super old, uptight people, and they might find it funny. I mean, but it's kind of eye roll kind of humor. It's like, Ernest, oh my god, Ernest, But yeah, it is what it is, and I appreciate it for what it is. Jim Varney was an extremely talented actor, if you ask me. He was actually trained as a Shakespearean actor, and he's been in a lot of stuff. Apparently, Ernest was in about 200 or 300 commercials or something like that, and was very successful. So, they figured that success would translate onto television. I do believe he had a short run on television for a while, and then to movies. By the time Ernest went to jail, he was a huge star. But I guess this movie represents the beginning of the decline. People are just getting sick of the character, I guess. The one opening scene where Ernest actually finds a piece of this cannon struck me as being kind of funny. He's on this, construction site. All the workers break for lunch, and Ernest is nosing around, pretending he's Indiana Jones, and he's looking for treasure in the Temple of Cleopatra or something like that. And for whatever reason, there's some power tools that come to life and start attacking Ernest or chasing after him. And so the resulting chase scene is pretty funny. Ernest manages to knock over all the framing in this house And, this half-constructed house is shot with a nail gun. He gets chased by a circular saw. It's kind of ridiculous, but at the same time kind of funny. So, I don't know, that's probably about the funniest scene in the whole movie, actually. Because later on in the movie, there's, they find this cannon. And Ernest has to convince the professor to, accompany him on this quest for this cannon and prove his theory. The professor, portrayed by Ron James, actually, Canadian actor, a Newfie Canadian actor from Newfoundland. Just a little bit of trivia there for you. Everybody in Canada pretty much knows who this guy is, thanks to CBC. But here he's just like the sidekick kind of character. He's like henpecked by his crazy wife. When they find this cannon, the thing basically, it rolls out of its it's in some little cave or something like that. It's being pulled by a truck, and for whatever reason they detach it, and it keeps rolling, but it just keeps going for uphill, downhill, over open fields and around corners and stuff like that. For whatever reason, it just keeps going forever, and Ernest is riding on this thing, and it's like, oh my god, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? It's dumb. It's so dumb, and it goes on for so long. I was starting to check out. I was starting to lose interest in the movie by that point, until they finally crash and they discover the jewels inside. Then the whole thing with the crown and the King of England and blah blah blah. Yeah, it's dumb. This is for kids. This is Ernest. It's entertaining enough, I guess, to warrant a VHS tape. But I certainly wouldn't have gone to see this in the theater. Physical comedy in here is top notch. I mean, Ernest is basically a cartoon character. He even says so in this movie. Probably the best thing about this entire tape is that it came with Mr. Bill Goes to Washington, which plays at the very beginning, and it's Mr. Bill. I mean, Mr. Bill. Okay, I've got to do a video on Mr. Bill real soon. Anyway, this is Mr. Bill Goes to Washington, and for whatever reason, Mr. Bill gets elected president and actually beats Sluggo out of the presidential race. So it's Mr. Bill in the White House, and funny gags in the White House, and the historical monuments in Washington, D.C. Whatever, I mean, it's Mr. Bill in Washington. You know what I'm talking about. You know what's going to happen. The inclusion of Mr. Bill Goes to Washington on this tape, I think, was brilliant, because it got you kind of laughing, and then sets you up for the goofy, cartoony kind of antics of Ernest. Also helps to sell this Ernest movie that bombed at the box office. I probably wouldn't watch this again. I do kind of want to watch some of those other Ernest movies, the earlier ones, like maybe Ernest Goes to Camp. I don't think I've ever seen that one. And Ernest Goes to Jail, I know I've seen some of that, and I found myself laughing at it quite a bit. But that was years and years and years ago. I think I was a teenager when that came out. I don't know. So overall, I guess I'd have to give Ernest something like a C. Maybe a C+. Let's give Ernest a C+. I wouldn't recommend this one if you're wanting to get into Ernest movies, because I guess I kind of was wanting to get into them, and I just happened to pick the lamest one. I don't know. Yeah, C+. So until next time, have a good one, everybody.